And we are live. There we go. What's going on, people? What's going on, family? This is your boy Porter Rock 77 coming back at you with episode 41 of the 60 Frames No Like podcast. This is what's up. I thank you so much for all those who's going to tune in live. I appreciate it. And we got, it's going to be a short podcast because I know it's raid day. Everybody's raiding on Destiny's life and stuff. But I think I owe it to you to push through with this podcast today because we have a very important topic today, and I would like to discuss it with my fellow gamers. So it's gonna be an amazing time. Whoa, Blue Rendezvous is the first one to show up. What's going on? So we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna go right into it, and the room's gonna fill up. So to allow the room to fill up, we're gonna start with a lighter topic. So the first topic we're gonna talk about is EA. EA would like to move to a subscription-based model, similar to like EA Access, but in similar fashion, completely stop pretty much releasing games like the way they do now. And everything will go pretty much Netflix style. I want your opinion, and we can start off with Luke. Oh, let me stop being rude. I know we're trying to get this whole Destiny, but let me introduce the panel real quick. We're going to start off with my homegirl, my sister from another mister, the Ashton Luca. What's going on, girl?
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Well, actually, I was kind of like, hey, can I come on? Because I want to talk about this topic, man. And I'm not looking at the chat right now, so those of you who are hating on me for being an Xbot, that's fine. Everyone else who's saying hi to me, because you're cool with me, what's up?
Nah, everybody's here is all love. It's all love. I got the greatest family in the world, and when that podcast, dope. Yeah. All right, and of course, we can't forget top flight security of the world, Craig. What's going on, brother?
How you doing, Porter Rock? Thanks for the vine. Good to be back. Nice to see you again, Miss. Is it the Ashton Luca? Am I saying that right?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so Miss Luca, and shout out to Blue in the chat. She said that she wasn't invited, but shout out to both you guys, and keep up the good work on your podcast.
I just want to say, she said she wasn't invited, but she's streaming, so...
Yeah, isn't she streaming?
What is the truth? Like...
Uh-oh. Get her, girl. Get her.
I mean, I'm just saying, I would have mentioned it to her, but she's streaming, so I was like, all right, well...
Okay. We love you, Blue. We love you either way. Right, but all right. So we're gonna to the lighter top again, covering EA's subscription model. They want something Netflix-like. That's what they would like to go to. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think it's something positive? We'll start with Luca. Do you feel something positive where gaming goes to more like a Netflix subscription model? Do you have any concerns? What do you think, girl?
Well, it's definitely a way for them to keep getting money from you. You know, in the long run, it would be wanting to play games there. It would be a lot more money than you just buying the game straight out. But then again, there'd be you would think there would be a lot of games for you to play if you decide to subscribe to this model. I feel like Microsoft wants to do the same thing, though, and they're just starting with the Game Pass. So I don't know, man. Maybe, I know that a lot of people are against change, but this could be beneficial, or it could be completely awful. We don't actually know until they start trying to implement it.
Okay. All right. What about you, Craig? Because I got my opinions on this before I ruffle the feathers.
I hate being right all the time. Yeah, this was. I predicted this like a year ago.
The voice of Xbox has spoken.
Yeah, the voice of Xbox. This is what everybody had been. This is what I was told from some friends of mine that work at another company. And this is the model. And look for the major game companies to just float it out there, just to try to get some feedback. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I've left EA after what they did to Mass Effect. I will play Madden, but that's pretty much it. So EA can do whatever they want to do. It's disappointing if they go to that model, because I do agree with Luca. It would take. You would be paying who knows how much a year. Yeah. Just to play maybe 3 games. I mean, Madden you would play. Then what else you got? So it's, if they go that route, it wouldn't surprise me. I would be disappointed, but not shocked. So
okay. So you ready? Y'all ready for this?
Oh, I'm ready for it.
Okay, you ready for this, girl? You ready for this, Craig?
Let's have it, brother.
It's an absolutely abysmal idea. Absolutely abysmal. Terrible.
Okay. Yeah, I was scared. I was like, where's he going to take this?
Terrible. I'm gonna tell you why. So let's look at the Netflix model, right? The reason why Netflix is so popular is pretty much because almost everything is there. There's only a few other subscription plans that has things that Netflix don't. That's Hulu, and that's only a few things, and Amazon Prime, and that's only a few things. So there's, so pretty much Netflix is almost everything that you need out of a subscription service, all right? In gaming, who's going to manage the subscription service? So imagine if everybody does this. That means you have to subscribe to EA, you have to subscribe to Ubisoft, you have to subscribe to Capcom, you have to subscribe to Sony, you have to subscribe to Microsoft, you have to subscribe to whatever publisher and developers out there. So while people think, man, it's only $9 a month for whatever, no, you're going to be paying like $500 a year. And there's possibly games you don't even want to play at all, because it might be just 2 games you want from a specific publisher. Let's say, for example, the only game you really care about Activision is just Destiny and Call of Duty. So you have a subscription plan because of 2 games. And that's it. And it's because that's the only company that has those 2 games. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is where it could fall in its place, unless the console manufacturer implements it, kind of like what Microsoft is. They have Game Pass, Unless Microsoft, if you're an Xbox owner, or if you're a PlayStation owner or a Nintendo owner, if you own that specific platform and that platform gathers all the games and you fall under one subscription plan, I can see that working. Meaning, Xbox has Game Pass. Everybody makes games for Game Pass. Sony has PlayStation, PlayStation gaming, whatever they want to call it, right? And everything makes games, and everything goes through that service. And then Nintendo has Nintendo whatever. Everything goes through Nintendo. Pretty much everything goes through the platform holder. But that's not what they want. EA wants to do what EA Access has, where you pay for their services. Sure, it's on the Xbox, but you're paying a separate fee. So imagine you're paying Game Pass for Xbox, right? And then Activision has Activision Pass. Then Ubisoft has Ubisoft Pass. Then Capcom has Capcom Pass. And then Square Enix has Square Enix Pass. And then, you still got EA Pass. After a while, you're not paying $5 a month or $30 a year. You're paying like maybe $400 or $500 a year in services, because there's no unified platform to take all the content under one umbrella. Netflix is successful because it pretty much has everything. You'll get your movies, get your awards, you'll get your TV shows, you'll get your Netflix exclusives, you get everything to where, $9, $10 a month is nothing because you get so much and you really don't have to go anywhere else. Maybe maybe Hulu if it has certain things,
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, imagine subscribing to like 19 different publishers. It would be ridiculous, it would be out of hand. And that's just one thing, that's just at one angle. Number 2, a service like this is going to be tied to online. What's funny is I don't want, I could talk, again, my prayers to those out in Florida, the Caribbean islands and Houston. But everybody knows Kaleidoscope, right? He's an Xbox dude, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? He was affected, and shout out to him, my prayers with his family. And I'm glad he's okay and everything. But his power was out, right? His power went out. And he forgot to do something. Before his power went out, he forgot to set his Xbox to offline mode. So what ended up happening when he had no internet, he couldn't play his games. He even made a tweet saying that literally his box is just I forgot what he called it. It's just a brick because he can't even watch movies on it. He can't play games or movies. And people were telling him, no, just turn it on to offline mode. He's like, he can't because you have to be online to select offline. And he didn't do that. So until he gets back online, his Xbox One is literally just a doorstop, and this is what I've been telling people for years. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, sure, we got games like Destiny and we got games that are always online we enjoy, but that's a choice for the specific game. But if you want to play a game like Bloodborne or The Witcher, what that doesn't have to do with online. There is no benefit with always online connectivity. Nothing, that system doesn't enhance our enjoyment of gaming. You understand what I'm saying? If anything, you'll most likely run through a situation, even though it might be rare. It might be a time where you're moving to a new apartment and now you have to wait 2 weeks before the cable company comes and installs internet. It might be you're on a road trip and the hotel Wi-Fi sucks, or it might be a power outage goes. But you'll most likely run through an inconvenience before you see the convenience of having always online. Because you really don't need always online. Nothing is not beneficial to the gamer. It doesn't add any extra benefits to us. Anything you can do where supposedly, quote unquote, you need always online. No, not really, because you could do it offline. Also, you could do it on consoles that's always offline. And he didn't see it until he finally got into the situation where he realized, oh snap, this always online is not a good idea, because now he can't play his console at all. It's a brick. Until his internet comes back up, he can't do anything. Despite the fact that he has access to, I guess he said he has hundreds of single player games and he can't play any of them. You know what I'm saying? So with this, you know, I'm not laughing at him. I'm like, this is the thing I was trying to tell people. You know, this is the first thing I was trying to tell people. Like, the always online is actually a bad thing for gamers. It will hurt us more than be pro for us, you know? So this Netflix model is just a similar thing that could be put to it. Because I can't see this Netflix model being for offline gamers or people who go in and out of internet. It's just not going to work. Somehow, some way is going to be time. So now if I pass this information, do you see this could be impacting on how you guys play games? Do you see this more as something now, like now that you look at it or you hear what I say, could it be something like, you know what? This might not be good for us in the end. It might be more expensive. It might be troublesome. And ultimately for what? What do you guys think now?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm definitely with you now. Like, putting it that way, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, this is a bad idea. Because I like single-player story-driven games. So when I was playing primarily on my PlayStation 4, I was never online. Like, I would go online for the updates and then to download my games. And then that was it.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's how you choose to play. That's what I try to tell people. Like, oh, who actually plays their console without being online? I'm like, lots of people. Some people just do it just to get the updates. After that, they don't really need to be online because they play content. You know, you play the way you want to play. You know, there is no rule to how to play a console. You bought it for a reason to do it what you want. You know, like I absolutely don't watch Netflix on my PlayStation. Why? Because I have it on my TV. So why do I want my PlayStation to be on and running, you know, and wear and tear for something I could do somewhere else? You know, my console never sees the light and day of YouTube or Netflix. Not saying that you shouldn't if you have it. I'm just saying for me, the same TV I play on does Netflix on its own. So I'd rather have the TV play the Netflix and leave my console, give it a break. If I'm not gaming, it's on standby. Just leave it cool down. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Craig, what do you think?
Well, again, remember a few weeks ago when you and All Day were like, hey, look, what's your gamer thing? And I couldn't remember it because I don't hardly get online on that PlayStation. It's just, it's not a function of the unit. The Share Factory, I was just kidding on a podcast I did the other day. I've never went into that part of the PlayStation. I got no point. I mean, what's the point of going there? I turn it on, I put a disc in, and I'm ready to go play. You know, and so with the Xbox, it's the opposite. I remember I told you a few weeks ago, also, Porter Rock, that thing was just sitting there. But when I activated the Xbox Live code that they gave me, that thing started tap dancing like the late great Gregory Hines. Its function is to be online, and the only reason I know my name on Xbox more is because it doesn't come on without telling me it's welcome. You know, on my PlayStation, I couldn't tell you what that thing is. You know, I have to go somewhere in there, like, well, let me see if I can find my gamer tag. You know, it's just, it's. I agree with you. When you grew up playing, whether it be on the Nintendo, ColecoVision, there was no online mode. There was nothing like that. You got your game, you brought it home, you unpacked it, you plugged it in, and you played. But the people who grew up with Xbox Live and things like that, they missed out on that. So they're used to being connected online. And like you said, I kind of chuckle, not because of the situation that guy is in, but the fact that you got to be online to tell it to go offline. That's terrible. I mean, you should just be, he should, in theory, be able to call Xbox directly. And, you know, if they get back to him, they could turn it off remotely. Should be able to, but yeah, it's that's the model that they want to go to. It's service-based models, and again, it don't affect me because I made, like I said, Madden, and then maybe the new Dragon Age from EA.
Oh man, that's gonna be lit. It's gonna be lit, man.
Oh
yeah. Those are the next. That's the only last EA game I'm buying. I'm like I say about 90% of the Mass Effect community that's so mad at Anthem because that's Mass Effect. That's what Mass Effect was supposed to be.
Anthem?
They changed it to Anthem. It was
You
pretty
think
well.
so? Why?
Pretty well chronicled now. So they put their A team on Anthem. They put another part of their A team on Star Wars, and they put the B team or C team on Mass Effect. So,
you're talking about in talent, the developer talent.
Yeah, so good luck to them if that's the model they go to. It doesn't affect me because I won't be using it anyway. Yeah. So,
okay, all right. So a good light topic. The room's filling up nicely, so we're gonna get into the heavy hitter right now. All right. So we're gonna get into PewDiePie racial slur and those that defend them. So just a quick recap. I'm pretty sure everybody knows right now, but during the live stream, just to get the room together, during the live stream, and shout out to the chat. Thank you so much for showing up, family. We already got 44 viewers up in here, and it's still growing. So hit the like button, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for rocking out with us. All right, we're gonna of course we're gonna try to make this quick as possible because we all know we're on that Destiny grind. It's raid day, so you know. But I think this is an important topic. So PewDiePie was on a live stream, and then, he used a racial slur to somebody. He called somebody, hey, you fucking, and then the N-word and stuff. All right. Obviously, community, the public, the very public that made him popular and made him successful into a multi-million-dollar earning star is obviously the same public that's going to criticize him for that. My issue, and I made a video about this, I did a live stream, was why are people defending his actions? Why in 2017 people simply don't understand that there's consequences to using racial slurs, and racial slurs is not just a simple thing as saying like the word motherfucker or damn or son of a bitch or something like that. It's not the same at all right? So first question I would like to ask you, and anybody could chime in, either one of you want to go first. All right, we'll start with Ashton first. Why do you think there's people now, and I want to say gamers, because PewDiePie's a gamer, so mostly this is a gaming related topic. Why do you think there's gamers out there now thinking that, or they don't understand why using racial slurs is just completely wrong? Why do you think they don't get that? Or why do you think they're fighting for the right to say it without no consequence?
Well, I think the reason they're saying it and want to say it without any consequences is because they're ignorant. And they're not only ignorant, they're willfully ignorant. Like, everyone took history in middle school. People are aware. You are aware that racism was a thing, right? Like, slavery was a thing, right? Like, that the N-word is a derogatory word. That's where it stems from. Like, people are aware of that, right? But everyone wants to act like it doesn't matter and it doesn't exist. And it's like, people are like, oh, it's just a word. Don't let words have so much control over you. Yet, when you call someone racist, they get so upset. They're like, I'm not racist. Don't call me racist. I'm not racist. How dare you, SJW?
Next time I say that, Next time I say, hey, whoa, relax, dude. It's just a word. Don't let it.
It's just relax. It's just a word. And then they're like, well, you SJW. I'm like, what's a SJW? Social justice warrior. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything because words don't have any meaning to me. So you calling me that doesn't mean anything, right? Because the N-word doesn't mean anything, right? So me saying you're racist doesn't mean anything, right? So why are you so upset? People get more upset being called racist than when people use racial slurs. Like, that does, I genuinely cannot comprehend the mindset that people have. And then other people are like, well, if this race, like, if black people can use it, then why can't I? First of all, black people aren't going around calling each other that word with a ER. Okay, they're not doing that.
No.
Second of all, the reason why white people can't use that word is because white people use that word to enslave black people for hundreds of years. You cannot pretend that that did not happen.
Yes.
You are being willfully ignorant. And if you want to know the difference between the ER and then the GA, then look it up. It takes one step. Go to Google and look it up. This is why I do not argue with people about this stuff, because they choose to be ignorant. Because they come to me and they ask me about it. And I'm like, well, you could look it up. It takes 1 second to look this up and you would have your answer. They don't want an answer. They don't want a true answer. They just want to argue with me because they want the right to use that word without any consequences. And that's the issue. And to be perfectly honest, using that word at all is not okay. And using the the variation of the word is not okay because it all stems from a word that was created to bring us down, to acknowledge the fact that Black people are lesser than white people, that we are nothing but slaves, and that we are nothing but cattle to be used, to be sold.
Mm-hmm. You hit it right on the nail. Hey, Craig, let me get your thing.
Yeah, I did. I listened to listen to it because it was on Twitter. I won't go super deep into it. I'll just simply say that one, if he lets something like that out, he does it all the time.
Yeah,
he does that all the time. It's just he got caught. I didn't know what a PewDiePie was because the only reason I knew was because when I went to a movie when YouTube was launching YouTube Red, he was one of the people helping them launch it. He had like a short story or so. It was something, it was stupid looking, but it was, you're watching a movie preview, but that's just the way people like that are. I mean, I won't go too heavy into it because it's a gaming podcast. Ultimately, white supremacy exists so that they can define things. Somebody saying something that they don't have the power to say, it's a threat to their power structure. Doesn't matter what it is. They want to do that's why white supremacy exists, folks. It's for them to be able to define things. I mean, to me, the guy, when I did look at him, he looks like he needs to go out into the sunlight, but then you hear nothing but about white people burning up in the sun. It's like, how do you burn up in the sun? Everything else gets nurtured from the sun, but there's something going on, but you're supposed to be superior. Get the F out of here. You're not. But with that said, it's just he got caught saying something. And if people really want to hurt him, just Google or Bing, shout out to Microsoft as the voice of Xbox. Use Bing, not Google. So Bing, the companies that actually are supporting him at a corporate level, and then email those companies and say, hey, look, I'm not going to use your product if you still support this guy. At least one company is going to take their footage off of off his channel. And they're going to do that. So yeah, that will cost him money in the long run. He's already made his money, however, but yeah, it's just that's all it really means. I mean, as far as the people defending him, I do agree that it's about the power. Mm-hmm. They want the power to say whatever, because it's like, well, if you take this away from us, how dare you, when my group of people has defined everything for history, And like I said, my favorite term is when you have a group of people say, well, that's my ancestors, that wasn't me. It's like, okay, then what are you doing to help tear this system down? And then they sit there with their hands in their pocket like, oh, well, yeah, shut up, you're part of the problem too. So it's unfortunate, but it's a lesson for everybody. I mean, everybody.
Yeah, and I also want to say, hold on, bro. I also want to say that it's like, are we just going to ignore that? What was the place? Charlottesville? Are we going to ignore that Charlottesville happened? How dare you say racism is not a thing when that stuff happened like a month ago? Like, are we going to pretend that people weren't rallying and saying, well, white supremacy and KKK, like we're going to pretend that didn't happen, guys? Like, really? And then you want to, and then you're going to say, oh, well, it doesn't, well, the N-word doesn't mean anything. Like, it means something. Obviously, it means something. We are not past racism. You can't just ignore something and pretend like it didn't happen. Okay, you need to acknowledge it and then work to fix it, to work to change it. Like, I've been keeping track. I've been noticing all of my friends who've stayed silent. And then I've been paying attention to all my friends who've said, well, I don't, it's like, he shouldn't have said it. But there's always stipulations. There's always a but. And the reason there's always a but is because it does not affect them. People do not care until it affects them. There always has to be a caveat. Take this, for instance. The natural disasters going on. If you did not have family or friends in those certain areas, would you be thinking about the natural disasters? No, you'd be like, oh, that's unfortunate. And then it would slip from your mind because it does not affect you. You are not thinking about it. Mm-hmm. People do not care about things until it personally affects them. And that's just the nature of the human. That's just how we are naturally selfish like that. Mm-hmm. So the fact that this word does not affect you because it does not apply to you, obviously you're going to say, well, it's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't actually care. It's whatever. Like, get over it. It's just a word. You're going to say that because you've never been called that in your life. So it doesn't hold any power to you or meaning or anything.
Yeah. So I remember at work, great buddies of mine. We just sit down, we pretty much during lunch, we sit around, at the table and we just talk, we eat our lunch and stuff like that. And we had conversations about race. They're two white guys, but they're great. I would trust them with my life and everything. Right. So we were talking about, the whole race conversation, stuff like that. And they asked me, why do some Marines feel like they can't? They try to mean by that. It's not the literal definition of what you guys read or what we all read in the Webster dictionary. The literal textbook definition is, to be a racist is to feel, your race is superior and demean the other race, something to that effect. I'm not looking at the definition right now. And that's not what we're talking about. That's not what minorities are talking about when we have this conversation, And I was telling them, for white people, when you think of racism, it's literally the textbook definition. It's someone not liking your race. So when you think of racism, you think of a black guy saying, I hate white people, or a Latin guy saying, I hate black people, or a white person saying, I hate black people. You're thinking of one race not liking another race for whatever reason. That's what you guys think when you think of racism. What we minorities think when we think of racism isn't just simply, oh, a white guy doesn't like me. Because if it was just that, we wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Well,
that doesn't mean anything.
Bro, you keep cutting out. I'm just saying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
But not to interrupt you there, but you got to really try to understand. And I didn't realize this till like 15 years ago, because somebody had to pull me under their wing and kind of explain it to me. White supremacy again is a system that's in place to keep them in power.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. So what I was trying to say, when we hear racism, it's not just simply a white person doesn't like us or a black person doesn't like us. It's not simply one race not like another. We're afraid of the system. We're afraid of one day being pulled over, and the cop is part of the white supremacy movement. What do I do to protect myself? There's nothing I can do. What we're afraid of is we go to court and the judge is racist. We're afraid of being denied property. We're afraid of being denied education. We're afraid of being denied our liberty. That's what we think when we think of racism. We're not just simply think of another man's opinion that don't like us. We're afraid of the system of racism that is implemented to keep us down, because that's what we had for such a long time. I remember I was arguing on Twitter, obviously, of course, and then it was arguing, because somebody made a comment that black people need to get over the whole slavery thing. And I made a comment of black people probably would have if it wasn't for the fact that a consistent decades and decades later, they're still going through issues having basic rights. It didn't end with slavery. Like when slavery was abolished, with the amendment, what is it, the 14th Amendment, something in 1865, I think it was, right? When the amendment was passed. Black people still couldn't vote in this country, still didn't own property, couldn't go to the same schools. It wasn't until the Civil Rights Acts of 1962, 100 years later, that allowed black people to simply drink from the same water fountain. 100 years since that 14th Amendment was passed. Like, are you kidding me? It took 100 years to simply drink out of the same water fountain. And people are trying to say, get over it. There's people alive today that still remember. Like my mom's Puerto Rican, right? But her skin tone, is Afro-Cuban, is black, is Afro-Puerto Rican, is very black. She told me when she moved to this country, there was places she wasn't allowed to go. This is my mom. She's alive. And she's telling me this. This is not a textbook memory. This is her telling me what she went through. And she's Puerto Rican. Imagine if she was, black. Just, what I'm saying? So this isn't something you can get over. There's people alive today that were denied, education, denied property, denied basic things that could make them progress. It's not, what I'm saying? This is not something that's imaginary, that's made up. And, that's what I explained to them. This is not something to you guys, to some people, it's just a textbook definition. To us, is literally a system to oppress us. That's what we think of when we think of racism. We're thinking of, oh shit, I'm gonna get shot tonight, or I'm gonna go to jail, or I can't buy this house, or I can't send my daughter to this school. That's what we think. What do you guys?
Well, real quick, you got to really understand why it's, let's look at them wanting to build a wall on the South. Well, they want to, how come they're not talking about building one up north? All right, think about that. I mean, because the Canadians look more like them. If there were a bunch of blue-eyed, blonde-haired people coming into the country, they would not care. There's people coming into the country that's going to offset their white supremacist structure. So, and again, it's the system is there only to keep them in power, and ultimately, what they see are the numbers. Yeah. The numbers don't lie. Women, I mean, look, I work in the healthcare field. Okay, that's what I do. White people in the United States, they have negative birth rates in 13 states. So they're not going to be able to maintain the numbers. So if you can't, so there's less people to maintain. The women are not getting pregnant. That worldwide, they're not getting pregnant, and they're going out into the sun and they're being burnt to a crisp. So that's all spurring all this stuff. So it's like, well, no, I want to be able to say what I want, do what I want. And you were just talking about your mom there. That's very important because, see, now that a lot of these folks are not inheriting the country that their daddy had, that their grandfather had, they don't give two shits about it anymore. They don't. So it's like, we're just going to tear it all down because I can't exercise the same privilege that my daddy had, that my mama had, and so that's all still, I mean, that leads to the police stop, pullovers, that leads to all of that. So like you're saying, the judge, even the police do the right thing, judge can still do something else, so, the system set up of, the Netflix, you brought up Netflix earlier, 13 by Avery Duvernay, the whole system of the prison industrial complex, all part of the master plan, so it's unfortunate, and I hate. It's good to be out in the open though, because what it should have showed the people is, okay, these are the people that I can't be around, I can't hang out with, play games with, whatever. Please keep it gaming. I'm not going to play games with this person anymore, so I'm not going to remove them. But if they invite me, I ain't playing. It's the same thing that happened with the election. There's people on people's social media pages that are never going to talk to each other again, but they're not going to delete each other. They're not going to delete each other because that's one person admitting that they were wrong. Yeah. So it's just, they're going to be like, all right, I'm just going to maintain this. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality.
Yeah. So I know this conversation while we were going, I'm having conversation with the same folks, and they ultimately asked me, so where are we going to get to the point where we'll finally where racism is truly minimized in this country? And I told them time. I told them time is going to solve it out, because there's one color that's more dominant than any skin color on a man, and that's the color green. Green is the most powerful color in this country. You could be the most, unless you're sick in the head, unless you're like, you have an actual mental issue, you could be a racist, but if your money's impacted, you're going to suppress your racism because your green is more important. Green is the most important color this country has, right? Now, just like what Craig said, the white race in this country is not birthing, they're not maintaining the birth rate to maintain, the high level of white people. I think this country right now is primarily 70% white people in the United States. They're not maintaining the numbers to maintain that 70%. While on the minority side, our birth rate's increasing. It's projected that by 2040, 2050, 50% of the population will be Latino in this country because of the birth rate, the conflict. For some reason, white people aren't having that many children. I think it's like, 1.1 ratio. You need a minimum of 2 just to maintain, more than 2 to actually increase the growth of your culture.
Well, I can tell you why.
Okay.
I can tell you why.
We'll get into that. But I think either way, that's not really so much a point. I think ultimately that it's happening. White people are having less kids. Minorities are having more kids. So time is going to balance out the system to where this country is not 70% white, but it could go as low as to like 40% white. Well, let's put it this way. If 50% of this country is Latino, that means the other 50 split between black, white, and Asians and stuff like that. So let's say, whites is at 30%, blacks is at 20%. Now, the reason why this number is being brought up is because regardless of the percentage, you still need a certain amount of people to maintain the flow of money, the system that keeps the money flowing in this country. That means you still need people to be senators. You still need the same amount of people to go to school, to fill up those colleges and universities, to be police officers, to be lawyers, to be doctors. You still need bodies in those seats. Now, the majority of those bodies are white people because they're the majority in this country. They're 70%. That's why, for example, the military is around 70% white because they get most of their bodies from the white people, which is the majority of this country. But what happens when the white people ain't there? Because now the country is 40% white. Who's going to fill those seats? Who's going to be the majority of the generals and the colonels and the sergeant majors? It's going to be more minorities because those are the bodies that's on the planet, that's in this country. Who's going to be the majority of the judges and lawyers? Who's going to be majority of the senators and congressmen? You need bodies to fill those seats. And if you're not getting them from the white race because there's not enough, you have to get them from the blacks. You have to get them from the Latinos. You have to get them from the Asians. You have to get the pool because at the end of the day, regardless of skin color, green needs to keep flowing. The finances of this country needs to keep moving. It needs to keep bigger. You know, if you don't have that, the country will fail. So that's why I said time is going to fix this situation because this country is going to need the abundance of minorities that are predominant. You're going to need them because if you still resist, you're not going to have enough white people to fill these seats. You're not going to have enough white people to be doctors. You're not going to have enough white people to be lawyers and sheriffs and firemen and mayors and everything that keeps this country.
Now you dropped out.
So time is going to fix this. Soon, everything's going to be a balance. There's going to be an equal balance of all races to where you really don't have a minority race. It's just pretty much no longer a majority or minority. It's just pretty much we'll finally get to the point where we're finally Americans simply because everybody's putting that balance of money flowing in this country. So you'll have an equal size military of various races, an equal size government, an equal size first responders and medical and everything. Everything will just be balanced out. It's just time. So our grandchildren will benefit simply because of what's going on now, you know. And I think that's why a lot of these white supremacist organizations, they're so angsty now because they're really up in a riot now. They're protesting. I mean, they're really opening their mouths more than ever. But I think it's because they see it coming. They see the sign coming. It's inevitable, you know. If the white race don't produce the numbers to maintain their culture, if we want to call it that, they're going to diminish. They're not going to be the majority in this country no more, simply because they're not sustaining that. What do you guys think about that?
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Main thing is we won't see it. I would say that's why I see a better future for my grandchildren, because my grandchildren won't be considered minorities anymore. They'll just be part of the country. It just is. When they become adults, it's just they'll finally just be known as Americans. They won't be, oh, you're a minority in America. No, I'm just an American because we're everywhere. We're no different than what you see all around us. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about in this topic before we move on to a nice light topic and finish it off?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so last topic to move it up. So the iPhone X, and I know Luca's crazy about this phone. iPhone X has been announced. Beautiful looking phone, but it's starting at $1,000. You know, so what? Obviously, yeah, it's a G, and that's starting. I think it's like what, the 32 gig is a G, and then
the 64.
The 64, and then it goes up. What's the highest price?
There's only the 64 gigabyte one, and then like the 258 one. Ooh. So
how much is the 258 one?
They haven't told us a price. At least I don't think so.
You ever been to those restaurants where you be like, hey, how much is this? And they like, if you have to ask, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, never mind. Do you have a dollar menu? So this phone comes out. It's $1,000, and there's certain people. My man Kiss Move is one of the first pioneers. He's already leading the charge. So he already started out saying, you know, people find an issue with Xbox One X being $500, but they don't see an issue with the iPhone X being $1,000. Do you guys see a fair comparison between the two products? Do you see a fair comparison, or is it a valid comparison, or is it invalid? What do you think? What are your perception to this?
I do want to point out that Michael Pachter made a poll saying Xbox One X versus iPhone X, which I thought the poll was baffling because I don't understand why they're comparing a console to a phone.
I agree.
It's a very strange comparison, to be perfectly honest. Also, I mean, I guess other companies don't do this or something, but T-Mobile offers payment plans, so it's not like you're paying $1,000 straight out. You're putting down a down payment and then just paying a monthly fee. And then there's also the fact that, I mean, the iPhone X looks cool, but I'm not going to get it. I actually just got the Galaxy S8 Plus, and that's why I can say that my Galaxy S8 Plus overall is going to cost me like $960 something.
So you already doing it. There's nothing new.
Yeah, it's nothing new to me. And so I hear this every year, people complaining about the price. And I'm also just like, okay, so everyone's just ignoring the fact that iPhone also put out the iPhone 8 and then the iPhone 8 Plus. iPhone 8 is going to be $699, 8 Plus, I think $799. We're going to ignore that because the base Galaxy S8 is more than the iPhone 8. So we're really just going to ignore that this is happening. And then Android phones are also getting up there in price. Like I was saying, my S8 Plus is going to be 900 and something overall, like 960 something overall. So that's like maybe like $100 less, because including tax with the $999 and all that stuff, right? And then the Galaxy Note 8 is $929, and that's not including tax. So I genuinely don't understand like what the issue is. And it's also like people who are buying the Xbox are just paying $530 or $550 straight out. They're not doing payment plans. Phones are on payment plans, and you can have a phone for 2 years or more. And one of my bros, right? He was all like, "Well, I don't see the point in like buying an $1,000 phone only to upgrade next year." I'm like, "Well, who says you have to upgrade next year? Like, you don't have to do that." And he's like, "Well, I just I don't see the point in doing it." I'm like, "Well, then the phone's not for you. The people who are doing this are the people who can afford it. If you can't afford it, then don't worry about it." Well, it's like, it's not like I can't afford it. It's just I have to do this and this and this. If you have to make caveats, then you can't afford it.
Yeah. If you want it and you can afford it, you'll buy it.
Exactly. And everyone is so concerned with how other people are spending their money. And then it also baffles me that people in the Xbox community are like, "Oh, these guys are sheep. Like, iPhone users are sheep." I'm like, are Xbox users not called corporate slaves? And Xbox, like, you get upset when people call us that, but you're gonna go around and call someone a sheep because they want this product? Why don't you stop being so concerned with how people are spending their money? You go to work every day, 40 hours a week, sometimes more, to make money, to pay your bills, and then for other luxuries. Yeah. What's expensive to you may not be expensive to me, because we all are different people and we have different lifestyles. So this $1,000, if I didn't have my Galaxy S8 Plus, I would consider getting the X because I can afford it. It's not an issue for me. I'm not concerned about it. But other people who, you either can't afford it, so you're bitching about it, or you weren't going to get it anyway, so you're bitching about it. Like, people just love to hate. And the comparison between iPhone and then the Xbox doesn't make any logical sense because they are two completely separate markers. Yes, there are some Xbox gamers and gamers in general who use iPhone. However, the majority of iPhone users do not game on consoles. So I don't understand why anyone is comparing them, because they're two complete separate animals.
Mm-hmm. So you bring up a couple of great points. Point number one is you actually pay the phone, because Sprint does it too. You pay the phone month to month. It's added to your bill and divided up over a 24-month period. And Sprint also has a program called iPhone for Life, that for $5 extra, you can actually change your phone every year at no extra added cost. So, like, you pay $25 a month extra, but you just turn in the phone and you got a new one. So you're always swapping out your phones consistently at no extra added cost, because that's what you're paying per month anyway for, So technically you're leasing the phone. It's almost like a leasing program, and you can always get the latest phone every year. So there's different ways to get these phones. All right. I think the big thing is, more than anything else, is minute by minute, pound for pound, more people use their phones than gaming consoles. It's always with you. It's everywhere. It's how you connect with people. It's how you take pictures, record memories. You use the apps, social media. Hell, when you game, your phone's next to you. And it's still on their phone. You see what I'm saying? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
you dropped out.
You know, I dropped out. I gotta check on my internet, see what the hell's going on. I think I'm telling you, it's Phil Spencer and Aaron Greenberg messing with me every time. Every time. You know? But that's the thing. People don't realize, you know, phones is also integral.
True. Oh.
Signing contracts, scanning documents, sending it to the realtor, you know what I'm saying, and to the loan officer, all pretty much done to my phone. You know? That's what a phone does. So it's a very huge, important part of it. Craig, what you think about this?
Well, I think, I guess nobody understands. iPhone topped out at iPhone 4. After that, at that point, there was nothing left for it to do. They got throttled by the Android. The Samsung phones, the S3, is still considered one of the best phones ever made. And it still works. I mean, it still works. I mean, that's why I'm laughing at some of the prices. I mean, $1,000. When I went to the Dominican Republic, round trip, that was only $688, and that was all expenses paid. You know, literally all. I mean, that's so. It's not a matter of it being too expensive. It's just. I mean, when does it stop? What does this? I mean, because what I would ask myself is, what does this phone do that iPhone 6 didn't do? And if I turn it on and it works, and I hit whatever app and that works, what are you doing? I mean, at least the Android phone, if you drop it in the water, it can stay there for like, I don't know, 30 minutes. This can't apparently do that. But
well, I heard it was waterproof. I heard it was waterproof.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Well, that's fine. You know, but I mean, it better be like the one guy said in the chat. It better call ET for $1,000. You know, for a stat. I mean, I looked at a TV today, a very nice TV for it. It was a grand. Yeah. I mean, but it was a beautiful TV. It was a big, beautiful TV. You know, and it's just like I don't know if this is coming into this has got to be a millennial thing.
Well, phones are very stylish now. You know, it's almost like it's an accessory to a person now. It's almost. I've seen people when they lose their phone, it's almost as if the world ended. You know,
the thing of it is that people are getting iPhones for the fact that it's an iPhone. It's brand recognition. Yeah, they're showing off because the smartest thing that Apple ever did was convince its users that the Android is inferior to them. Like, that's the smartest. Like, everything they have done is to convince the iPhone users that their product is superior when it's clearly not.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't really care. All I'm saying is, if you're not gonna get the phone, then don't get it. And if someone on your timeline is talking about getting the phone, leave them alone. Who cares? Like, it's not your business what they do with their money. If you don't want it, you go ahead and bitch and rave about it. But it's like, no one really cares about your opinion is really what it comes down to, because you're not affecting anything. You're not changing anything. You telling someone, well, my Android phone can do this, this, and this. What are they going to say other than, okay, I'm still getting an iPhone?
Yeah.
Like,
like I said, I have a Galaxy S8 Plus, and then I have an iPhone 6s Plus, and I prefer my Galaxy S8 Plus personally. Well, like, Android phones are better. You know, that's like a fact. They are better. They've had stuff that iPhone is just getting, but people are getting it because around the world, a majority of people are using iPhones.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, bro. I kept cutting you off. Go ahead, Craig.
Well, no, but Android is over 60% of the market, though. I mean, because if you get a Google phone, that they use Android.
I think when people compare iPhone, I think they directly comparing it with the Galaxy line and not with like the $2 blot phone.
Well, yeah.
No one really cares that, you know, half the nation has the blot phone, the Obama phone running Android 1.1 from 1998. No one really cares about that. I think it's mostly the Galaxy versus the iPhone. You know, the high end, because there is no low end iPhone unless you consider the older models that's going to get phased out. That's about it. But they don't make like a $50, right out the box brand new iPhone. Like me, the only reason why I'm on iPhone is only because my first smartphone I got in Japan when I was stationed there, and it was the 3GS. And I bought so much stuff on it that it doesn't make sense for me to go to Android and miss and lose the money I invested. So and it's not like I buy an iPhone every year. Like the last phone I have the iPhone 7. Before that, I had the 5. And I didn't. And the only reason why I bought the 7 is because the 5 started messing up. To which I think Apple sends signals to
they deliberately sabotage it with
it just feels like I'm like, what convenient.
Like it's and also it's like, I'm not saying this. I had an iPhone 4S, and then I had the 5S, and I had the 6, and then I had the 6S. I had 2 iPads, I had a MacBook. Listen, I was very heavily invested in that ecosystem, but they keep taking away things that matter to me, like the headphone jack. As soon as they took away the headphone jack, I was like, well, I can't be in this ecosystem anymore because it doesn't benefit me. But it's like, like I said, I primarily use my Galaxy phone, but I'm not hating on anyone who wants an iPhone because who cares?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll say 2 things that it's being the voice of Xbox. I can tell you, people are telling themselves anything to make an excuse to go buy the Xbox X. Okay, it's like I told somebody. I said, okay, about 4 years ago, Xbox released Xbox One for $500, and it didn't sell. So so why are they releasing another console for $500? The same thing's going to happen, But with that said, as far as the you're right. You're right about people thinking their Android phones are inferior. I remember when that iPhone came out, they had something on it called a Siri, and they would talk to it. And I did the same thing with my Android phone, and I said, "Your phone just came out, right?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "My phone's 2 years old. I've had that tech for 2 years." And it's just, but she's like, "Well, it's an iPhone." You're right. It's more of a. So I said, "Oh, that means it's inferior." So that's all that means to me. You're going to pay $1,000 for an inferior product. That would be my only statement. It's an inferior product.
Yeah. It's definitely brand recognition, dude. It's the same reason people bought Beats, the same reason people get Jordan. It's just, if you're walking around with it, people assume that you have money and you're making a statement. That's all it really is. Like, I can't, and then also for the simplicity of it, I think those are the main reasons people get iPhones. And then also it's the stigma. People genuinely think that Android phones are lesser than iPhones. Like, people genuinely think that.
Yeah, but the simplicity, that's what's the ironic thing. You're paying more money to be more simple. That to me is it's an oxymoron. The Android phones, actually, this is not what this podcast is. If you don't use an app for a certain amount of time, because it's an Android, it will remove the app. It'll put the app in a stasis. Well, you know that. You've got an Android phone. But, I don't disagree with what you said. It's more about the brand and, look at what I got. And you're right. Like I said, it's a millennial thing. Only a millennial is going to go spend $1,000 on something that's less than. But you're right. If somebody's going to go buy it, it's your cash. Your money. It's not mine.
All right. So unless we got anything to add, I think that wraps up the show. We need to get back to gaming, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Is that? Yes, we do. So let's do our shout outs. Luca, let everybody know where we could find you.
You can find me on RDX Podcast. That's on Dealer Gaming's channel. That's every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can find me on Speak Podcast. That's on my girl Blue's channel. It's a X Blue Rendezvous. Just, if you want, check me out on Twitter for links to that channel. And thanks for having me, bro. Like, I was really passionate about the Pewdiepie situation because I have been arguing nonstop with people, and I really had a lot to say about it, and I don't have my own channel or platform to talk about it other than Twitter. So,
are you ever going to start your own channel, or that's not something?
I don't really have time, but I've been considering it more and more because there's so many, Twitter. A lot of things can be taken out of context, and it would just be easier to talk about it.
Yeah, you could call it the Scumbag Podcast.
Oh yeah, obviously.
I'll be down. All right, and my man, top flight security of the world, Craig Harris, the voice of Xbox.
Yeah, and thank you for having me again. And the Ash and Luca, always it's a pleasure. These last 2 weeks, learned a whole lot about you. I do appreciate you all's podcast. Go check out their podcast, the Speak Podcast. It's really a good podcast for everybody in the chat. Also, let me give a shout out to everybody who early adopted the Nintendo Switch. They've announced, I think Doom's going to it. Wolfenstein is heading to it. So all those cats that said the Switch won't sell because of the power. And also, I'll break this gaming news. The Switch has outsold the Xbox One in Europe. So that's it. But Porter Rock, thanks for the vine, and always a pleasure being on here.
This guy right here always got to throw in shade. You know, you're definitely not a positive voice for Xbox. I'll tell you that much.
I am a positive voice. It's just I'm reality. The reality is they're getting smoked in Europe.
Oh, Jesus!
By a console that's less powerful, and they said it wasn't going to sell. How about they just shut up and go play their games?
All right, so with that, that's what we're about to do. We're about to shut up and we're about to go play some games. What a good segue to end the podcast. Hey, to my family, thank you so much for joining us. Again, hit the like button, subscribe, retweet, and I appreciate it. See you again next week for another episode of 60 Frames No Like Podcast. This is your boy, Porter Rock 77. You know where to find me. And we out.
Bye.
Peace.